Today we are doing the 1 minute pump foil sprint challenge, and the question is, what is the fastest foil? Let's find out. So lately I've been dog starting on a 750 Ultra from AFS and really loving it. I posted a video and a few of the comments were asking how fast I was pump foiling with the 750, and so I did some research to find out what is the best way to record your speed when pump foiling, and I came across Oleg challenge, the 1 minute sprint pump foiling challenge, and I thought that was a really good way to measure speed more than just like a max speed, because sometimes maybe the GPS can just like tweak for a second or whatever. And so over a minute, I felt like that was maybe a more accurate way to measure speed for a foil. Oleg has been really active in the pump foiling world. He created an association and he's really trying to put a structure and like competing around pump foiling. So check it out. He's really active on the Facebook group, pump foiling group. Today I'm gonna take 4 foils and I'm gonna dog start, and we're gonna test the speed over 1 minute, and the measurement will be the average speed in kilometers per hour. So all of the gear that I'm gonna display today in this video is available at wingfoilprocenter.com. If you enjoy our videos, that's a really good way to give back, supporting us through the shop wingfoilprocenter.com, where all of the gear on the YouTube channel is always available at the shop, and also some lessons if you are in the area, Florida or the Northwest in the summer. So the 4 foils that I'm going to use today for this test: the SABFOIL 1260 Leviathan Pro, the 1100 Pure from AFS, the 800 Pure from AFS, and the 750 Ultra from AFS. I think those foils are probably some of my favorite foils to pump foil in terms of glide performance. So I was like thinking it would be a really good way to test them back to back. I did all of it on the same session, and I actually started with the bigger foil, ended with the smaller foil, just to make sure that if we would find that the bigger foil is slower, that we couldn't really say that it was because I was getting tired. So I made sure that like I was fresh for the bigger foil to really give the bigger foil a good chance to compete against the smaller foil. And the question is, how fast can you go when you pump foil over 1 minute? That's more like personal performance. But the other question that applies to anybody in general is, is the smaller foil going to be faster than the bigger foil? Is that a true rule? So we're going to find out in this test, and then we're going to discuss the results after. So a few important details for this challenge that I think we need to mention. It needs to be dog starting. You can't tow and you can't use the foil drive, just because the dog start is kind of like the standard. It's going to also limit how small of a foil you can use. If you were towing, you could just use a tiny foil. So dog starting, I think, is an important part of the rule. The other rule that I kind of made up myself, and I don't know if that's an official rule, but I think it should be coming back to the starting point, just to make sure that there is no current or wind involved. If you go from point A to point B in a straight line, who knows, maybe there is a current bringing you a bit, maybe there is wind pushing you in the back. So if you do a loop, if you come back to your starting point, then we make sure that there is nothing else involved other than your pumping. And then the other thing is, you have a minute to take this measurement, and you shouldn't start it on the dog. You should dog start, pump, get to speed, and then start it, and then you have a minute. Obviously, the longer it takes you to start your watch, you've already burned energy. So it's in your interest to start it as soon as possible. But I think if you start it on the dog, you actually lose some time, because the running and the first few pumps are not like at speed. So get going, get to speed, start it, and then you stop it when you are at a minute. And because it's the average speed, even if you go 1 minute and 1 second, 2 seconds or whatever, that average speed, you know, it's still going to be accurate, and it's a good way to compare foil to foil. You know, if you are missing a second, that average speed should be about the same anyway. That's why we don't really take the distance. That way it's easier to measure. If you are like a minute and 1 second, a minute and 2 seconds, it makes it easier. Okay, so let's start with the 1260 Leviathan Pro from SABFOIL that I'm pairing it with 325 tail and 663 fuselage. This foil is actually 1227 square centimeters, aspect ratio 12.9, and maximum thickness 14 millimeters. This foil has tons of glide and speed because of its high aspect ratio and the thin profile. So for this one, over a minute, my average speed was 20.9 kilometers per hour, and my max speed 21.4 kilometers per hour. So next, we are going to take the 1100 Pure from AFS with the 165 stab. That's the standard stab that comes with the 1100 Pure. I'm putting it on a 75 UHM mast. This foil has a surface area of 1100 square centimeters, aspect ratio 11, and the maximum thickness 14.5 millimeters. This foil feels very similar to the 1260 Leviathan Pro, but slightly smaller in size. And over a minute, my average speed was 21.6 kilometers per hour, and the max speed 22.8 kilometers per hour. So slightly faster. And now we are going to take the 800 Pure that, you know, I put the 135 tail on it. That's the standard tail that comes with the 800 Pure. This foil is definitely faster. It's one of my favorite foil because of, you know, its speed and its really unrestricted glide feeling. That's how I would describe it. The surface area is 800 square centimeters, aspect ratio 13, maximum thickness 11.6 millimeters, and that is the thinnest foil all of them. This foil is definitely more demanding technically and physically than the first two. And over a minute, my average speed was 23.2 kilometers per hour, max speed 24 kilometers per hour. And next, the new 750 Ultra from AFS, one of my favorite foils at the moment, absolutely loving it. I'm putting the HA38 tail on it, same mast as the two other AFS foils, 75 UHM. The surface area on this foil is 750 square centimeters, aspect ratio 14, so the highest aspect ratio of all of them. Maximum thickness 12.3 millimeters, so a tiny bit thicker than the 800. And this foil definitely feels easier to pump than the 800, and I think that's because of its slightly added thickness in the profile, but yet, you know, the speed and the glide feeling is very similar to the 800. And over a minute, my average speed was 23.6 kilometers per hour, and maximum speed 23.9 kilometers per hour. So the result from this test, it has been faster the smaller in size we go. Now for sure, you know, if I would spend more time on each of them, I could probably increase the average speed on all of them, because I pretty much just did one after the other. So I try to keep it like very consistent. Same in terms of like effort, you know, I try to give it the same, but the result is, you know, smaller foil was faster. Now it was significantly harder in terms of effort and in terms of technique the smaller we went, and actually I would even argue that it was slightly harder on the 800 Pure than even the 750 Ultra, even though the 750 is smaller, but I think the thinner profile really made it more demanding in terms of energy and in terms of technique. And the difference in speed is not really proportional to the effort that it was taking. A smaller foil was definitely, you know, like redlining the entire time. A bigger foil, you know, even though I was pushing, I was definitely feeling a lot more comfortable in terms of like demand on the muscles and everything. Now, obviously, I did the smaller foil at the end. Does that play? Maybe, but for sure there's a significant difference in terms of effort and technique needed for a smaller foil compared to a bigger foil. But here is something very interesting. Can a smaller foil sometimes be slower than a bigger foil? And I think the answer is yes. It depends in what setting. In my opinion, in this 1 minute sprint, I had the technique and the physical level to handle all of those foils, and I was able to get them to their speed in their range. It wasn't challenging me, other than like when you get to the end you start slowing down for sure. But where a smaller foil can be slower than a bigger foil, I think is like either in the long run, or if I was going even to a smaller foil, at some point my technique and my physical level might not be able to meet the minimum requirement for that foil, and now you start getting slower because a smaller foil is going to be more draggy if you don't go to the speed that it really wants to go. And I've really experienced that even on downwinders, when the conditions get light, and if you are on a smaller foil, your average speed starts to suffer compared to somebody else that's with you, maybe with a bigger foil that's more comfortable and where that foil operates in its range. So if for pump foiling, if your technique is not able to handle whatever size foil, your average speed is going to start to suffer. If I would be doing a 2 minutes sprint challenge, I think we would see that I would start getting faster on bigger foil, because I wouldn't be able to, I would get too tired on a smaller foil, and then as I get tired, my technique goes down, I'm not able to give the same input in terms of energy, and then the smaller foil is going to start to get draggier than the bigger foil that's going to really glide because it's at speed. So to me, in this 1 minute, if you can operate the foil in their range, the smaller foil is going to be faster. But as you start getting technique starts to go down and effort is not able to meet the demand for the foil, your average speed is going to start to decrease. So now this is a test that I did on my own. It's not scientific in any way. I try to make it as fair as possible, but it would be really interesting if you do the same test with your foil quiver, and maybe even with other foils that I haven't used in this test. Those are my favorite foils, but it would be really interesting. So if you do the test, please let us know in the comments so everybody can learn from this, and it would be interesting to know if you find the same result as I do. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something. I hope it was useful, and the goal is really to have fun out there. Don't make it too complicated. Don't overthink it. Just go out there and have fun. That's really what we are doing with foiling. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.